that they prepare their own questions, questions that speak into their experience, their leadership journey, and their perspectives as students. So yes, they will be answering the very questions that they have created. But before we start, I would like to call upon Ms. Malaika to honor the memory and legacy of Dr. Diana Ferris.
If you have not yet heard this name, know that our lives are interconnected across spirit, ancestry, and time. Poetry is not some exclusive, lofty, literary pursuit. I know that you have felt that in the ways that the poets have brought their voices to this stage. I come from a legacy of particularly Black woman poets who have understood their work as healing, their work as artivism, their work as rewriting into the voids in history, her story. Sis Diana Ferris, I have known for 30 years when I migrated from KwaZulu to Cape Town. Meeting her in 1999 as part of Weave, Women's Education and Artistic Voice Expression, a collective of intergenerational women who were not waiting for institutional publishers to say, our work is worthy, our stories can be told, but self-publishing a collection called Ink at Boiling Point, multi-genre anthology of Black women's voices from the southern tip of Africa. Diana was one of those 12 women, and she is so much more. With her passing at the end of January, one of the stories that instantly gets amplified is her famous poem, I've Come to Take You Home, which is now part of the French Senate's legislation honoring the return of her remains after the Sarah Baartman nightmare. And for me to be standing here, not knowing when the Center for Creative Arts in KwaZulu asked me to be the poet mentor for these phenomenal scholars, showing that poetry and creative expression lives in all of us. It's not about whether you're in the humanities or not. And we've spoken so much about moving across silos. But at that point, I did not know that my sister, my elder, had been the one doing this work in 2025 with the cohort of Siyaphumelela poets last year. And some of those are in this room. Blessing and Zoe actually were with her. So her presence in the entire process, online, in group sessions, in one-on-one, and on this day, is very much a part of how it becomes possible for us to understand that your creativity, your talent, is your ancestral inheritance, and this is our immeasurable, priceless, indigenous wealth. Ahea, 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 ahea. For Sister Diana Ferris. 9 Fridays since your last earthbound breath, deepening mine as I attune to your voice, the shape and vibration of you, your laughter in a room, circle, the space of sacred sisterhood, too often seen only for its surface, active solidarity for this or that agenda, another future or past cause. Pausing momentarily to notice the incredible passage, timelines written across our faces, our speaking skin, subtle or not so, changing in posture, pace, language. In our most recent encounters, you wrote and spoke a fraction slower, in seemingly unconscious prophecy. Waterfalls of words dancing as usual between us. I listened with my whole body as you frequently did, especially when leaning in literally to joyfully gather the wisdom of our children, honor their leadership, luminous insights of the young, tangible evidence of our relentless collective investment in their soil, beaming or usyaing with your courage, your bold brilliance. Now that the tectonics of burials, tides of memorials, broadcasts, tributes to that sister-daughter van Woester, sound bites begin to subside. Here I find you, expanding beyond our loud lament, our verbiage and media coverage. You who knew and grew the art of remembering, leaving abundant archives, nutrition for our evolution, authentic, feisty, self-determined, intentional generosity. You embodied, delighted in igniting where heavy shadows hung over many, haunted the solitary, thickened the silence. Fire in your chest, flames from your mouth, outing the truth. Twice since you have passed, walking the shore in Umtentweni. Twice we have met in spirit, reassuringly by the ever-changing sea. Unspoken depths of sorrow now finding cleansing release. Somehow for both of us, as the salt reached my tongue, eyes adjusting, gradually hypnotized by the glistening sand, this golden brown cosmos mirroring the glistening one above, noticing the quiet synchronizing of lungs, heart, gentle wave. Shh, shh, washing up on the shore, while you, my sister, are becoming more and more and more, simultaneously closer and further away. I continue tending surprisingly vivid memory in sudden awe. Ahea, 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 ahea. The last thing I want to say is that it has been an extraordinary privilege to work with these young light beings. I was telling them, yes, we are human, but we are light beings. And the journey that we took with poetry required a lot of them. Amidst all their academic demands, their own personal journeys, they took emotional and psychological risks. They played, they went into places of discomfort. And I can tell you, I would not give them false feedback and saying, you're all wonderful. They worked really hard. And I am so proud of the caliber of poetry that has come through them and the journeys that they have honored through this process. And I'm also really excited to say that these scholars will be honored by being present at the 30th Center for Creative Arts at KwaZulu in KZN, UKZN's Poetry Africa 30th Anniversary Festival. Yes! And even before they go to celebrate and be part of that, we're also hosting for the first time in South Africa the Global World Slam. So slam poets from 40 countries will be coming to that festival. That's never happened before. Yes! And also that the work of 2025 cohorts who worked with Sister Diana and the cohort that I have worked with over the last 2 months are going to be published in a unique publication that honors their words on the page. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Malika. As Malika has said, Dr. Diana was our coach last year. She was really a wonderful soul. She used to encourage us to own our voices, have pride in our stories, and to have grace upon ourselves. So I think let's give another round of applause for Malika for honoring Dr. Diana. Okay, let's move on into the questions. Okay, so as they say, ladies first. So I'm going to start with you, Bonolo. So Bonolo, looking back on your student journey, what experience most influenced the way that you lead today?
Okay, thank you for that blessing. Looking back at my journey, the experience does not come from a single moment. It comes from a journey of transition, and that is the place that I lead from. It comes from wondering whether I belong. Will I be able to navigate, these spaces, these new systems? It comes from also understanding that it doesn't just start at the gates of higher education. It starts way before that. It starts also from preparing myself to unlearn, relearn, and then learn. And so when I engage with students, I don't see them as individuals just needing support. I see them as individuals that are still in transition. It comes also with the questions that I ask them before assisting them. Am I able to understand where they are in their transition? And once I've figured that out, how do I then support them within that transition? Yeah, that is where it comes from. Thank you.
Round of applause. I think you do agree with what you are saying, because in design thinking, they say you need to understand the person as a whole before you offer support or initiatives. So thank you for that. And gentlemen, Chevandré, how do we move beyond viewing students as sources of feedback and instead recognize them as co-creators of the university experience, particularly in ways that foster belonging, agency, and student success?
Thank you. I know the question is quite a mouthful. So I saw this tweet a while ago, and it said, of course universities are not a cult. A cult offers a sense of belonging. And it got me thinking, that we all know that universities are inherently complex, and you have intellectuals, and we have one goal, but we move differently towards that goal. And disagreement is inevitable, but we cannot fetishize agreement. The university is a space, it should be a space of intellectual contestation, and that means disagreement. That we must become uncomfortable, and through that uncomfortability we will learn. That uncomfortability also includes the idea of opening your door and having conversation with the student as a person and not a data point. And this is what Biko speaks about, to give it a more human face, so that you engage students, meet them where they are. As someone said, Prof. Blade said, these are the students we have. We don't have other students. And we have to deal with them accordingly. And so how do we create institutional cultures where disagreements are welcomed and that we foster dialogue? So communication is very important. Our teaching philosophy at Mandela is that of a humanizing pedagogy. We see you as a human being, and that we are co-creating this space. And it's okay for us not to have answers. We don't have answers to all of the questions, but please walk this journey with us. And that's how we discover where we would like to be and redefining what success looks like. I had a friend that said we need to release ourselves from this tag of black excellence because it's so limiting and it's so narrow. So let's redefine student success. Put us at the center. Open your doors for us, and then we walk this path together.
Thank you so much. Round of applause. Professors, you had them open the doors for us, please. Okay, cool. Nontobeko, I'm going to be moving on to you. So, Nontobeko, how does prioritizing mental health among students contribute to shaping the kind of graduates that the society needs?
Thank you. So, as you may have heard from my poem, mental health is at the core of my being. So that's why this question is for me. So when we speak about student success, we often speak in numbers, pass rates, throughput rates, completion times. But I stand here today as a reminder that behind every statistic is a human being. A human being with a history, with responsibilities, with wounds. And I say it not as theory, but as lived experience. And I was once a high-performing student who silently stopped functioning. I missed lectures, withdrew from people, and eventually dropped out. And at that point, my intelligence did not save me. My potential did not save me. What I needed was psychological support, emotional grounding, and spaces where I could be human before I was a student. And when I arrived at the University of Pretoria, what changed my trajectory was the holistic support, the student counseling unit, academic success coaches, and group therapy. And they allowed me not just to return to my studies, but to return to myself. And today, as a peer advisor and a peer volunteer, So today, as a peer advisor and a peer volunteer, what I've learned through these roles is this: students do not fail because they lack ability. They struggle because they are overwhelmed, unsupported, and carrying realities that academic systems often do not recognize. I've sat across students who believe their lives are over because of failed modules. I've watched families break down in faculty reception areas because dismissal means more than exclusion. It means lost hope for entire households. So when we prioritize mental health, we're not just helping students cope. We're shaping a different kind of graduate, a graduate who is emotionally aware, self-regulated, able to ask for help, able to lead with empathy, and able to navigate complexity beyond the lecture room. Because the society we live in today does not only need intelligent graduates, it needs grounded human beings, people who can build, serve, and lead without collapsing under pressure. For me, prioritizing mental health transformed success from something being measured by speed and perfection to something defined by sustainability and wholeness. So the question is not whether universities can afford to invest in student mental health. The real question is, can society afford graduates who are not well? Thank you.
Round of applause. Thank you for those wonderful words. Mental health, it's really the foundation of well-being and flourishing. Okay, Revando, so reflecting on your journey as a first-generation student, student leader, and someone who works closely with school learners, how has your understanding of student success changed, and what role does authentic leadership and student voice play in preparing young people not only to access university but to thrive in it?
Okay, thank you for my question, my own question. If I have to think back of my journey before coming to university, I mean, if I have to be honest, my understanding of what student success actually mean was quite very narrow. I mean, growing up and going through school, we always had this idea that success often means that you need to have a certain type of criteria. You need to have a performance like good marks. You need to be involved. You need to achieve in certain stuff you do. And I mean, these things are important because they really do open doors for you. But arriving as a first generation student to the university, this actually challenged my understanding of what it really means. And I mean, I've entered spaces that nobody in my family have entered before. So there was no handbook to physically tell me or guide to tell me, this is where you go for registration, this is where you go for opportunities, this is where you go and ask for funding. So I quickly realized that university actually asks for more than academic ability. It asks for, can you adapt? Can you build a relationship? Can you ask questions? And whether you feel like belonging. And that's also where authentic leadership became important to me, because I mean, for a long time I really think that, wearing a badge, the blazer, hanging this side, that was good leadership. Until I've actually started working with school learners, that is where I see where authentic leadership actually started. It starts when young people realize that they feel safe to speak. They realize that their story actually matters, and they can stop trying to become the person who they think the world wants them to be, but to actually start leading from who they truly are and who they want to be. And I think that is why student success matters so much. When students actually hear that their voices are heard, that there's people hearing to what they say, they engage differently, they ask for help differently, and they even lead differently. And they also start seeing themselves as contributors instead of seeing themselves as recipients. And working so closely with learners, I started asking myself a different question. Are we actually starting the student success conversations too late? Because I mean, you come to university and you have this idea of student success is about having good marks, having good performance. But what if we actually start these type of conversations earlier, and to say, what if schools of the Department of Education became spaces where learners develop confidence, agency, belonging, and leadership? I mean, the students should really arrive to the university not only academically prepared, but they should arrive knowing that my voice matters, I belong here, and I'm capable of shaping my future. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful answer. I'll hand over to Zoe.
Okay, so our next question is directed to Sihle. Is there a mic? As a student leader, how do you think institutions can meaningfully collaborate and co-create with students to develop student-led support systems that recognize students as agents of change and foster success, belonging, and activism?
Yes, Sanbonan. Greetings. My name is Sihle Nkosi. Firstly, I must say that I'm the SRC president at DOT because there's something important that is linked to that. My view is to say maybe institutions would now need to continue doing more student-led conversations that are linked with the same topics that we're getting from Siyaphumelela. At a regional level, at a provincial level, where even students from universities, colleges gather and then shape those ideas. And students must be given the opportunity to chair those student-led conversations. And the staff must be able and willing to accommodate the uncomfortable questions that are going to be asked by students. In that way, I believe the student voice can be amplified. And in addition, we are sitting in this conference, we've seen a number of good initiatives. Can the staff that's sitting here go to the institutions and such programs and be able to present the things that are happening? Because in some instances, some students, they are not even aware of all those things that are happening, and they are aimed at improving their lives. And one also thing that is, I feel like it's important that I must say, as I said that I was the president, is aimed at the students that we're having here. We have a good number of students here who came and gathered ideas. I wish to say to them, return to your institutions and then work with other students. You are not different to them. You must mentor them. Either you are a tutor, you are a PM educator or anything. Implement what we have learned here. And again, we must encourage our students to participate. I mentioned again to be the president because I'll be serving in SRC for 4 years. And my academic average is always above 75. And let me tell you something. As student leaders, and we must encourage even at the house committee level, class rep, or any level of leadership, that you must never use participation in leadership as a reason for your academic decline. You must make sure that every time you participate. And another thing from our mentors and everything, please capacite our leaders. Teach them how to lead. Teach them the policies so that they'll be able to engage them. In that sense, they'll be able to even contribute back to their societies meaningfully, because we are building leaders of the next society. And then the capacity matters. As young as we are, if we do not have the capacity, we will not be able to transform our societies. So I just want to beg that this what we happened here must continue at our institutions beyond just engagements, even into implementations. A number of good initiatives are being engaged, and we must take them. And we are benchmarking. We have taken some of these ideas. We will be implementing. Next time, maybe we'll have more students who will be also sharing more ideas about their institutions. Thank you very much. Siyabule.
Thank you so much, Sihle. I agree that we should all be taking what we are learning, absorbing it here, taking it back home, and starting something that side. Thank you so much. We will move over to Thandeka. Thandeka, what message about students did you hope a national audience of higher education leaders would take away from your speech?
Thank you. So my poem reminds the national audience, or even higher education, that students are not shaped by their accolades or achievements. Behind every student is a person with potential, resilience, and a unique story. We all have unique stories, and it doesn't just end there. We are constantly being shaped by our challenges, journeys, and the interactions we have with people. So, with the right support from our universities, students are better empowered to thrive as students and individuals. So I hoped that they would recognize the importance of creating opportunities for students where they can thrive holistically and not just relying on academics alone. Because by doing that, we, as also individuals and students, we can discover who we are and who we can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Thandeka. We will move over to Thembelani. How can student leaders move beyond simply representing students and instead create meaningful spaces where student voices directly influence institutional decisions?
Thank you, Zoe. Greetings, everyone. My answer is basically going to be bringing questions. It starts with understanding who are the student leaders within our institutions. And secondly, do students understand the meaning of meaningful spaces within our institution? Students may understand or may think they do understand, but do also the institution understand the meaningful spaces for the students? And when it comes to the student leaders, I think every student is a student leader. Chevandré next to me may have a voice, but his voice, my voice may be louder than his voice. And through me, from what he can amplify me as, I'm gonna use my experience as a postgraduate affairs counselor. One student asked me a question which was not part of the ideas I had for the portfolio. They asked me what funding opportunities are available for their postgraduate journey. And from what I was doing, I was focusing on how the postgraduate student can be supported, but I was lacking the understanding of that also the funding aspect of it contributes the most to their postgraduate journey. From me doing that part of, because as students we have two things that are very important. We want to know, have you listened to me? And the second part is, did my voice make a difference? And from that, I was able to just ask a question to the Deputy Vice Chancellor. I was the amplifier of the voice of a random student who never occupied any spaces, but was the student leader, and I was the student leader who was able to amplify their voice. So I believe that our institution must not just focus on the student representatives that sits with them on their committees, but also focus on the students that are there on campus, that are also having the same experiences that our student leaders are presenting, because they are also just there to represent just 1,000 of students, but there are those 1,000 students, not all of them can be captured within the space you meet them. Thank you. And when it comes to answering that difference, I think it's a question that all institutions should start asking themselves. Do we actually act upon what we learn from our students? Thank you.
Thank you, Thembelani. Qiraan, the next question would be for you. You lead students from beside them, not above them. What does authentic leadership mean from that seat? And how do you make sure students furthest from the center get to shape what UCT becomes?
I think it's funny because I actually sit between students every day while I'm doing my work. And I think there's something really powerful about that, especially putting students in this position. And yesterday at the dance, I wish I danced more actually, my peers actually asked me, Qiraan, why not dancing? Why do you look so overwhelmed? Little do they know, it felt like first year. And in that sense, I came into this university still disappointed about rejections and all of those sort of things. I was a bit nervous coming to this conference. What am I going to expect and all of those sort of things. And someone that's really big on community. I can say that I really felt a sense of community in that moment. The checking up on me, the smiles I saw, everyone laughing. And not to make it about, I'm an IT guy, so let's not make it about IT. Actually, we're going to make it about IT. I realized when I'm working as a peer advisor on a technological platform, there are a lot of students coming from diverse backgrounds. And when we are thinking about authentic leadership, I realized I really need to be adaptable. Similar in this situation where I came in, I wasn't sure what's going to happen, learning things as I go. And with adaptation, there's a lot of patience, a lot of patience. And during a lot of tough times, we get a lot of different queries, from general advising, academic advising, even student wellness questions. And in that moment, I realized I actually have so much responsibility. And you don't really realize that when you're doing your job, but when you're reflecting and everything, you really realize the power you actually have. And like myself, I come from a place, like I mentioned in my poem, where it feels like a lot of institutions doesn't really include me. And I feel like I can make people feel included through the work I do. Yes, technological platforms are quite different to human interaction. Human interaction, you're building a very trustworthy relationship. You provide feedback, feedback comes back, you improve. So back to adaptability, I really need to be very adaptable and provide a consistent support structure during that difficult times, during times where offices are closed. And I think by providing that actual support, you actually set an environment, or you set a very important foundation for these students to thrive. And just like one of the presenters said, even the cleaners have an important role, and that's how I see the chatbot.
Okay, thank you, scholars. Can you give them another warm round of applause? Okay, so as they always say, as your mentors, we must pass on words of wisdom to you. So we'll close off by me and Zoe will just pass on some words of wisdom to you, and we're going to switch the table, so it's gentlemen first and then ladies afterwards. Okay, I'll go first. So my advice, I'm going to draw it from a personal experience. So at my institution, I'm part of a project that is called Science is Tough, But So Are You, which is a book initiative that brought students to hear like their voices on how difficult it is to adjust to university, time management skills, how to survive your first test, and things like that. And then currently, we are developing that book into like a video podcast, and I'm the video podcaster, so that we can increase accessibility of that project, and also so that students can feel seen, see real faces. And one of the students, someone that I've never met, approached me and said, "Oh, thank you so much for interviewing me, like that was really amazing." And only then I was like, oh, actually this is quite meaningful. So I think focusing on that, I just want to remind you all that the work that you do, every conversation, every initiative, every leadership position that you take, it goes a long way for students. People really, really appreciate the work that you are doing, and it helps them. So I just want to say, always keep students at the center of what you do. Never lose that, because once you lose that, I leave the position. So always remember you are doing it for that one student at the back of a lecture room hall, wondering whether they belong. You are doing it for that first generation student who has never seen anyone who looks like them succeed. So always keep students at the center of what you do. But also, we know that you have to balance your academics and leadership positions. And I would also say, have gratitude on yourself. Some days you're going to feel like you're doing a lot, you're going to have time to do a lot. Other days, not so much, but just to pause on those small moments and have gratitude on yourself, because what you're doing is extraordinary. And to also ask for help. We know as leaders, we tend not to know how to ask for help, but also just having a great support system. So remember, as a leader, you must lead with kindness, compassion, and patience, and that is the kind of leadership that I would say you should continue with. Thank you.
Thank you, Blessing. Oh, my scholars. I just want to first and foremost commend you all. And I want to thank you for being so brave and courageous to share your story. It's not easy to stand in front of an audience and share your truth and your vulnerability. So thank you. It's been such an honor to get to know you all. And I actually had to write down what I had to say, because I want to say it right. Your stories, your voices, and your journeys have reminded us of the power of student leadership and the importance of creating spaces where students can be seen, heard, and valued. May you continue to be bold, intentional, and kind in the way you lead. May you never lose the heart behind why you started. And may you always remember that your story matters. Your voice matters. And the work you are doing is making a difference. We are so, so proud of you. Thank you.
Just another round of applause, please. Okay. Thank you so much, scholars. Thank you, Malika, for a wonderful poem. It'll be rude of us not to appreciate everyone that was on stage. So I'm going to call upon Malika again to the stage, and also Steele and Napo to the stage, so that we can just honor them. Okay, so to Malika, this is just our token of appreciation for coaching this year's cohort, and also for your wonderful poem commemorating Dr. Diana. And for Steele, this is for you, for supporting us as scholars and always making sure that we are comfortable and we have everything that we need. A round of applause for them, please. Okay, now we move on to the creme de la creme. Okay, cool. So, scholars, again, thank you for sharing your stories with us, for allowing us to be part of your journey. So again, we're gonna hand you something nice. Cool. So I'm gonna start with Thembelani Chili, and you can walk here and collect your certificate. And you know, knowledge is powers, and a book to increase your knowledge. Okay. The next person that I'm going to call will be Revando Van Wyk. The next person that I'm going to call would be Sihle. Cool. And then the next person that I'm going to call will be Thandeka. Thandeka. And then the next person will be Qiraan. Chevandré. And then last, and then I'm going to call Nontobeko. Last but not least, I'm going to call Bonolo. Okay. I'm just going to ask that the cameraman take us a group photo, and then a grand round of applause, and then, yeah. No, we'll join. Just you guys, and then we'll join you.
Poetry!
Oh, still. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you, everybody. A huge round of applause to our scholars, our 2026 Siyaphumelela Scholars, and to Zoe and Blessing as well for chairing that session. Very well done. We now move on to the final closing reflections of the conference, with only two speakers left, Bill and Innocent, and I'd like to invite Bill to the stage.
Before I begin, let's give one more round of applause to all the students. I'd like to thank all of you, all of the delegates, for coming to the conference. I know you're very busy working on student success every day, so I really appreciate you coming to join us. I also want to thank the coaches and the speakers for all the work they do leading their organizations, helping their organizations succeed. I'd like to thank the Sadie staff and leadership for all the work. As anyone who's ever planned a conference knows, these are very complicated, very time-consuming, things to do, and I think they've done a terrific job. So thank you to everybody. And then I also want to thank the workers who fed us and who supported us to make sure this conference was so successful. And finally, I'd like to thank, of course, the students that we serve for the great work that they've done over the last several days. So we're in the final year of Siyaphumelela 3.0. The work began in 2014. We have one more year left, and I'd like to give you a to-do list. So everybody pull out a pen, and we've got 6 things I'd like you to focus on. First, for this final year, remember that we have the DREAM Conference in Columbus, Ohio, February 2nd to 4th, and we hope that there will be a new set of faces and voices that will be joining us. So within your teams, think about who you might want to send, how you might want to bring some people over. Second, we're working on an evaluation of Siyaphumelela and the Siyaphumelela Network. Mark Abrams is the evaluator. He's been with us all week. Is Mark in the room still? Yes, way over there by the white curtain. So he has said that he would reach out to him to share your successes and challenges in improving student success and the work you've done in Siyaphumelela. He's especially interested in policy and institutional changes that have resulted in more effective support for students, and also concrete information, real things that you've done that have resulted in improvements in the way your institution is serving students or the way you've worked with other institutions to help serve the nation. And the third item, you have reports due to the Kresge Foundation and to Sadie, I think on June 30th. As it turns out, the Kresge Foundation takes its summer holiday beginning, I guess, today. I didn't know that, I'm working today, but they're taking their summer holiday today, and it will be next week. So your reports are due next week on the 30th. If you have a problem working the system that you upload the forms to or the reports to, please reach out to Ryan Fela. If you don't have his information, please check with Ashton, who can help. He won't be addressing those issues next week, but he will be back the following week. And if you don't hear from him within a couple of days, please do reach out to him. The next thing, number 4, is take a look at your access or your success information efforts and look for those duplicates and inefficiencies. Are there things that if you weren't doing, you'd have more resources to do things that you know are working more effectively? Number 5, sustainability of Siyaphumelela and the network. Siyaphumelela has been designed as a collective impact framework. And this is the idea of getting a group of organizations that roughly share the same values and goals and seeing if they could work collectively to achieve something. This is what we've been doing for the last 12 years. But there's certain elements, I just want you to think about this. 1, they all have common agendas, and we have a common agenda. Evidence-based, equity-focused, collaborative work across institutions and across South Africa to improve student success. You have shared measurement. You keep track of that evidence and data in ways that other people could understand. You're not talking across each other, calling the same thing with a different name or different things with the same name, or not collecting the right data or the same data. Collect that consistently. Mutually reinforcing activities. You're having regional engagements in your regional network, the national network. You're sharing with an institution that's doing similar work. Think about how that reinforces the strength of the system as a whole. Continuous communications to share what you're learning and to make sure you're not falling behind. And of course, backbone support. That's what Sadie provides to all of you to make sure that things are working, that you're getting all those other aspects going. As our speakers have said, Siyaphumelela focuses on evidence, reform, scale, collaboration, and equity. So think about, is your work reaching that? Is it meeting that goal? We work across universities at Siyaphumelela, not in isolation, and we work across South Africa to benefit the whole nation. So the question for this sustainability is, how do we sustain and embed our work long term? How do we ensure our approaches outlast us? What can you do to embed the approach that you've been taking on using evidence and equity to really change things for students? How do we keep innovating and scaling impactful approaches and thinking about new ideas that might be even more effective than things we've already adopted? How do we move beyond those isolated boutique programs? And what are the next mountains to climb? Is it AI? Is it engaging with TVETs? Is it the transition to employment? Is it the transition to university? Is it strengthening equity as it's being under attack in places like the United States? So, and then the final one, and how do we move beyond fragility to strength? And the final item on your to-do list is, to borrow the phrase from an American president that was held in high esteem globally, is ask not what Siyaphumelela can do for you, but what can you do to sustain Siyaphumelela and your students, your institution, and your nation. The last thing I want to share with you is we've heard from South Africans, we've heard from Americans, we've heard from New Zealanders, and you really are part of a global movement in the United States or South Africa or New Zealand. The whole world is going to have to do what you're doing in South Africa and we're doing in the United States and the New Zealanders are doing in their country. There have been people who have been excluded from higher education for centuries, whether it's by race or class or gender, religion, region, caste, sexual orientation, citizenship. They've been excluded. But if a country wants to be competitive and successful in the 21st century, many more people are going to have post-secondary credentials. And so it's critically important that we ensure that those people who are traditionally excluded from higher education are included and given those opportunities, and that institutions serve them effectively, that they don't rely on old models to serve a very narrow group of people. So think about how you're part of this global movement, and in the 21st century, we're going to need so many more people to be better educated to navigate the challenges we're going to face. So please keep on doing this work and carry on the legacy of people who have gone before you to make real change in your country. Thank you.
Hey. When I was growing up, there's a cereal advert. I used it to laugh a lot. So I'm not going to tell you what it is because that will be free advertising for the for the company in question. But I'm just going to greet you by imitating that advert. Some of you might know it. So good morning, Siyaphumelela. I want to hear that. I want to hear you back. Good morning, Siyaphumelela. Yes. All right, thank you very much. And so, as we close this conference, the first thing I would like to do, I would like to invite the Sihle team to join me on stage, please. So yeah, you are right on cue because my notes here actually said pause for audience applause. So if you hadn't done that, okay. All right, yeah, so thank you very much. So I'm just going to quickly do a round of, because it's really important to give names to the faces. So I'm just going to lead, so as I go down, if you can please lift your hands so that the audience know where we are and who you are. So on the far left there, so we have Ashton Maheri. So Ashton is the engine driver of this whole work. He is our program lead for student success. So thank you, Ashton, for leading this. Next to him is Dr. Ephraim Mtlanga, who is our monitoring, evaluation, research, and learning lead, and he is the co-lead on this work with Ashton. Thank you, Ephraim. Next to him is Ndicheni Chongo. Ndicheni is our people and workplace lead. She takes care of all our stresses. If you're stressed at work and you need some support and counseling, Ndicheni is your person. Thank you, Ndicheni. And next to Ndicheni is Cynthia Juleka. Cynthia Juleka is our workplace assistant. She is usually, if you come to the Saidi office, she is the first of Saidi. She's the first person that you'll see. So thank you, Cynthia. And next to Cynthia is Dr. Kupaka, well known to you, previously as part of the Siyaphumelela family. She's behind a lot of the quiet logistics, both for the conference and the Dream Conference. And so thank you, Ku, for being part of this team. Next to Ku is Alice Nyembe. Alice is our strategic engagement lead. So she has been leading on engaging the speakers, so the stresses of dealing with speakers, coordinating, making sure that everything, the run of shows, the speaking notes, and so forth. So she has been handling all that. Thank you, Alice. So next to Alice is Mpumi Tavete. So Mpumi is our accounts and payroll officer. She is responsible for making sure that this whole team on the 25th of the month gets paid. But all the other critical finance work behind that. Thank you, Mpumi. Next to Mpumi is Noma. Noma is part of the African Storybook team. So you have heard about the African Storybook Initiative, about nurturing an early and lifelong love of literacy amongst the children. So Noma is one of the team behind that initiative. Thank you, Noma. And next to Noma is Sadia Sukaria. So Sadia is our senior finance manager. So again, she's responsible for making sure that we account for all the dollars that Bill is sending our way, and we get it completely right, but also for this conference. Thank you, Sadia. Next to Sadia is Sheila Drew. Sheila is our program lead for our early childhood education portfolio, including African Storybook. So thank you, Sheila, for leading that foundational part of our work, because that's where it all starts. And next to Sheila is Nombulelo Tabane. Nombulelo is the executive secretary to the CEO and the board of trustees. So she is my boss on a day-to-day basis. When the board is not there, she is assigned to keep an eye on me on behalf of the board. So thank you, Nombulelo. And next to Nombulelo is Elias Makwakwa. So all this tech, getting all this to work smoothly and on time, Elias is the person behind that, our tech and AV systems. Thanks, Elias. And next to Elias is Moses Zulu. Moses Zulu is also our workplace assistant. Is also responsible for making sure that at the office our systems function smoothly and we have a very productive workplace. Thank you, Moses. And last but not least is, what's your name again? So I think it's just so fitting that Maureen is last in line. So Maureen Madonsela, because she is the person that probably most of you would have interacted with. She's the engine behind the logistics, the travel, the accommodation, the catering, venue coordination, and everything, making sure that all this happens. So thank you, Maureen, for driving this engine. We can. All right, thank you, Tim. Obviously, as they go back to take down their seat, as I just said, so gatherings like this are made possible by teamwork, careful planning, and a lot of hard work behind the scenes. From the conference announcements to reviewing abstracts, registrations, logistics, speaker engagement, venue coordination, catering, AV systems, you name it. This required a very well-oiled machine to keep everything running smoothly. Yeah, I'm proud of this team, and I hope you are too. So my notes say I must pause for another applause. So is it coming? Thank you very much. But I also want to take this opportunity to thank everyone else who made this week possible. Yeah, I'm not going to repeat. Bill read a very, very comprehensive list of the people, including our venue hosts. But as I've consistently said before, a special place of honor and acknowledgement for me always goes to our students and Siyaphumelela Scholars. Thank you very much. You are very special to this work. Now also to our vice-chancellors, deputy vice-chancellors, our institutional leads, researchers, academics, and other student success practitioners that are too numerous for me to mention here. To the Department of Higher Education and Training and our other government colleagues, to Bill Kresge Foundation, to Amazon Web Services, to Max. I don't know if Max is still in the room. Thank you very much for your support and your partnership, and other funding partners. And also to all the speakers, moderators, panelists, our Siyaphumelela coaches, and all delegates who participated during this week in person and online. So please allow me to briefly reflect on the conference itself. The past 4 days were filled with content so deep and broad and insightful that I can't even start to try to summarize it here. I will not even try in the few minutes that I have. But if I was the editor of a publication, the biggest publication in the country, and I had to write a headline about what this week was all about, there are several headlines that I would write, but one that I would particularly want to write is Student Success Leaders Commit to Amplify Employability and Economic Mobility. And that's because, as we had at different touch points this week, meaningful student success starts with access, but it doesn't just end at graduation. It must open the doors to opportunity and specifically employment, economic, and social mobility. We were reminded this week about South Africa's post-school education system being under pressure. And in that context, being reminded that, once again, access still matters quite a lot. While the class of 2025, for example, produced more than 656,000 matriculants, successful matriculants, the public PSET system could only offer about 535,000 planned and funded places, leaving more than 120,000 young people with no clear pathway into the future. And every year, this gap, we actually still see it. And it adds to a growing pool of young people who are not in employment, education, and training, so the so-called NEET. Currently estimated to be more than 3 million. I'm sure you would agree with me that this is nothing short of a national crisis. It demands urgency. At the same time, access without success is meaningless if those who make it through the doors of learning still have to navigate numerous barriers that make success unattainable. Our task is not only to get them through the doors, but to help them progress to graduation, to complete their studies successfully. We also heard that while graduation matters, it's not enough without a successful transition to the world of work. Student success cannot be measured solely using graduation and throughput rates. We must also track what happens after graduation, how soon and into what labor market opportunities graduates successfully transition. Expanding opportunity requires us to shorten and strengthen the bridge from learning to earning. As Minister Manamela recently remarked at one of the events that I attended, our learning institutions cannot become waiting rooms for young people, cannot become unemployment waiting rooms for young people. And in a country facing youth unemployment that's now reported as to be as high as 61% amongst the 15 to 24-year age group, employability cannot remain at the margins of the student success agenda. It needs to be right at the center. So in this context, it was encouraging to hear your strong commitment to strengthening interventions such as career development, work-integrated learning, entrepreneurship, employer partnerships, and the capabilities needed for students to be ready for the world of work. This must remain a high priority for Siyaphumelela as we go forward. However, while institutions, as institutions, you're doing everything that you can, as we know, institutions cannot solve this challenge alone. As Bill said, this requires collective action across the post-school system. That is why on Monday, when we kicked off this week with a meeting of the leadership forum, senior leadership from the institutions, the forum placed so much emphasis on shaping a shared agenda for collective action to guide this next chapter of Siyaphumelela. This is a critical message that I would like us to carry forward beyond this conference. And so, we have decided that in the coming few days, probably early next week, we're working with an agency right now to put that together. We will be issuing a press release whose primary purpose is to help us to extend this conversation beyond these rooms, beyond Birchwood, to the business community, to employers, to policymakers, to funders, partners, and indeed the broader South African public, because it is a national agenda. It's not just an institutional agenda. It's not just a Siyaphumelela agenda. And with that, what we are aiming to do is to raise the profile of the work that we are doing. It can't continue to be hidden just under the roofs of conference rooms. This needs to go right to the national platform for conversation. And in that, we must make it very clear that student success is not measured only by how many students enter and graduate from our institutions, but how well we are preparing them for the world of work and meaningful participation in society. And so as I close, I would like to ask all of you, when we put out the press release, we will circulate it as widely as possible in addition to the media houses, but we'll circulate it with the institutions as well. So we would like you to help us to amplify this message because it is your message. It is our message. Share it with your networks. Take it back to your institutions. Use it to deepen conversations with employers, with government, with funders, and other stakeholders across the post-school system. And beyond that, as we start to look ahead to the 2027 conference, my hope is that we will return not only with many new ideas to help solve this challenge, but with stronger and stronger evidence, as we have always do, to show that Siyaphumelela is indeed helping more young people to move from access to success, from learning to earning, and from earning to economic and social mobility. So thank you for being part of the Siyaphumelela family. Thank you for your commitment to student success, and thank you for your time and contribution. which has made not only this week possible, but the past 12 years of the work that we have been doing. So let's together continue. It's not ending in this room. Let's continue together to reimagine student success and expand opportunity for all. So as I close, I would like to wish you all safe travels, and finally, wish Bafana upwards mobility at the World Cup. Thank you.
Sorry everyone, lunch is going to be served in Clover's Field, which is right here in the foyer. Please enjoy and travel home safely. Thank you.